There are two parts in GS4, theory and case studies. Now let us examine each of them in detail and see some principles that you can use to answer each section well. First, the theory portion. Prepare a definition for each term mentioned in the syllabus. Under theory, most of the questions pertain to either the definition of a particular value or its significance or about how you can use such a value practically. Now, once you prepare a definition of each term, it becomes much easier to introduce your answers whenever you see a question on theory portion. Second, do a value mapping exercise. What do I mean by this? In this exercise, you map a particular leader and the values that they stood for. So, for example, for Baba Saheb Ambedkar, you can say he stood for values such as social justice, rule of law, empathy, human rights, etc. So whenever any question comes on such particular value, you can always have particular leader and his or her quotes to substantiate your argument. Do incorporate flowcharts and diagrams in your theory portion as well. You can use hub and spoke model where, for example, if there is a question on civil service values, you can write or expand it in a hub and spoke diagram where you delineate the separate specific values under civil service code of conduct. Apart from it, what makes a theory answer stand out is the examples that you can add in your answers. For this, you need to make a database of real life examples. Without these examples, your essay can feel like a theoretical rambling. So it's important that you collect them. Now, from where should you collect these examples? There are many sources. Some of the important ones are newspapers, personal life, your workplace, or from the lives of great leaders, philosophers and administrators, or even you crowdsource from your peers and other aspirants. So under this, you take simple examples from each of these lives or your own personal life and then make a list of those examples so as to quote in your answers. So for this, during the preparation itself, deliberate keenly and deeply of the examples in your personal life and try to incorporate them in your answers. Over time, it becomes very easy to recollect such examples. Now we move on to case studies. In case studies, they bring out our ethical dilemmas and logical reasoning sharply. It's very crucial to do these case studies well to score beyond 110 marks. Without them, even with a very good theory portion, your overall GS4 score might be low. So here are some key pointers that you can use to attempt these case studies. Firstly, follow a standard framework for case studies. What does this framework involve? 1. Subject matter. Here you briefly capture in a sentence or two the entire case study. And second, you talk about the stakeholders that are involved in the particular question. You list down all the set of people who are affected directly and indirectly in the case study and depict them with a hub and spoke model as well. So you can write stakeholders and then various actors that are involved in the particular case. For example, yourself, your teacher, and then public at large, etc., etc. So depending on the question and the topic, you delineate particular stakeholders in that question. Next comes the ethical dilemmas and the key principles in that case study. Here you enumerate the key values that are in conflict. For example, in a case involving, let's say, mining in tribal inhabited forests, ethical issues would be development versus nature conservation. And public interest versus protection of tribal rights. These are the broad ethical dilemmas that you face in that particular issue. So under ethical dilemma subheading, you delineate the specific principles that are in conflict. And then finally, you talk about the options that are available to you in that particular question. Here you articulate about the choices, their merits, demerits of each of those options. And finally, it's about choosing an option and articulation of how you will implement that option. This is the core part of your case study that is most important, which will determine whether you get good marks or poor marks. Here, describe in concrete steps what you will do to address the issue. For example, if there is a case study related to gender issues in your district, don't use broad terms such as I will ensure women empowerment in the area. Instead, describe concrete steps such as, let's say, you might say that you will set up a livelihood opportunity based on the skills of the women in your area, and helping local women produce marketable goods, and helping procure such material in government departments to improve their incomes. And also you can quote successful examples such as the Seva model or Prajwala, etc., which are real life examples that showcase the success stories. These can be used to back your case study. With this, you will ensure that your case study is practical, implementable, and holistic. Now let's go through one case study example. There was a question that was asked in recent years where you are someone who is aspiring to become an IAS officer, and you have cleared various stages of the examination and you have been selected for the interview. While on your way, you met with your relatives who are bleeding on the road as they met with an accident. Now you face a dilemma whether to go for the interview or just be there helping the victims. Now, as we said, we follow the standard framework where in the subject matter you write about the dilemma, the basic crux of your case study, where a dilemma between achieving career ambition versus responding to accident victim. The stakeholders involved, you can also represent this through a diagram. Then comes the ethical dilemmas. You list out 2-3 in short bullet points. Then you discuss the options available, where you list out 1, 2, 3 each merits and demerits of it. In these options, 2 will tend to be extreme options where you let go of one and then choose the other one, and the third option would be something practical, which will be a balance of 2, where you try to get the victims to the hospital and at the same time try to reach the interview in time. So here in the final course of action, you do mention in detail how you will implement this. You'll write in specific details with clear steps, such as first you will immediately transfer the victims to the cab. Using Google Maps, you will go to a nearby hospital and admit them and pay any charges if required. Then you let your relatives and friends know about the accident, wait for the arrival, etc., etc. And finally, you also say that you will try to reach the interview in time. At the same time, after finishing it, you come back and then check on your relatives of their well-being. So this way you make a balanced case, a practical case as to how you can balance both the situation. Towards the end, you can quote Mahatma Gandhiji's saying, which is the best way to lose yourself is to lose in the service of others. This acts as a strong substantiation for your stand and ensures that you end the answer on a positive note. So this is how you answer a basic case study. Always remember, focus on the practical aspect. Marks will be awarded for something, for a solution that is practical and implementable, rather than anything that is absolutely innovative but not feasible. So try to come up with practical solutions which will ensure good marks in your case studies.